being ourselves at the end of the day. It's simply a choice to decide that you are a leader in this moment. And we belong as a leader simply because we choose it. And so I just want to start off with what is authentic self-leadership, right? And honestly, in today's rapidly changing world with AI softwares, social media, our kids being on social media, people texting more than actually making phone calls, right? Authentic self-leadership, it's needed more than ever because we live in a society that holds space for almost a loss of human connection, so to speak. And so when we think of leadership, we often think of leading people around us. However, the quality of our leadership is a direct reflection of how we choose to lead ourselves and our energy. And so with all these different points of what authentic self-leadership, it starts with this leading ourselves with our purpose, like being connected to the deeper why, our values to guide our decisions. And then from that place, leading with integrity where we prioritize ethical behavior and setting that positive example, right? And when we do that and we step into embracing our unique gifts and strengths and values and lead from authenticity rather than conforming to what's around us, that is empowerment. We feel empowered to fully be ourselves. And that leads to that fulfillment piece, right? Of that personal satisfaction of why we even do what we do and to live accordance with our own values and to make that meaningful difference, right? And resilience it comes back to this self-awareness piece, right? This emotional intelligence within ourselves that allows us to bounce back from adversity when it sneaks in and bounce back from setbacks. And adaptability, our ability to adapt to changing environment, because that change is forever happening. And so we can either follow the change or fall behind from the change. And so really it's about being able to embrace that change. And of course, as we, a lot of this is that inner work. And as we step out, it's that open and honest communication to foster that trust and understanding with the people outside of us. And therefore being that inspiration, being that genuine transparency in ourselves, in our decisions that inspires that loyalty, right? For others to follow our lead. And therefore, step into the innovation that is available to all of us, where each other's gifts are brought to the table. We share our creative perspectives and innovative solutions to create change in our society, right? And so one of the biggest challenges I see in the way of self-leadership is many high-achieving leaders, professionals are stuck in this like hustle culture of chronic overwhelm, stress, exhaustion, right? And oftentimes we're giving away our power to these external achievements. And as a former RN, I witnessed like countless patients ignoring, playing down their body symptoms, not addressing underlying challenges. And even now as a coach, I watched many clients, overextending themselves, overcommitting, just feeling exhausted, right? And experiencing like physical pain in their body. And it's in the name of work, only to go home saying to themselves, I don't have enough time, and doing it all over again the next day. And so often this cycle of the hustle culture is becoming accepted as normal. And so, let me ask you, right? Like, do you know someone or perhaps yourself that feel that, emotionally stressed or overwhelmed, exhausted, pushing yourself to get everything on this list done and spending extra time outside of your regular hours, sacrificing your own personal time and time with family, right? And you may feel like that passion you used to have feels like it's, not as strong anymore. And it drops like the energy you have to work, right? And you feel cynical about that ability to affect positive change and improve student outcomes. And, you go home and just feel drained to even be with your family at the end of the day. And so like, who here can relate to this, right? And so I wanted to speak to this. Just it's very well known fact that burnout is a big issue, and just a statistic pre-COVID that 2/3 of full-time employees experience burnout on the job. This is definitely I feel like it's a pandemic that's happening out there. And honestly, all we want as a professional is that we want to create that financial freedom to spend time with the people we love and have the health to enjoy life, using our strengths and our talents, right, to make that difference with the students, we work with. And so I just want to go a little layer deeper here. So why is hustle culture a problem, right? Is it because we live in this fast-paced society, having too much work and not enough downtime? And truly, this is what I feel the real problem is, right? What happens is that when we're experiencing stress, we start to develop what's tunnel vision, and it limits how much awareness we have, right? We're just focusing on getting the thing in front of us done. And when we get used to that certain level of stress, you don't even realize you're stressed anymore. And unfortunately, we get used to that. And so what I know and come to understand is that, when the definition of insanity is really doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to see different results. And so, who here, right, has caught themselves doing the same thing and really never getting a different result, right? Except the next level here is like many of us feel like we gotta keep it all together, look good on the outside, end up like wearing this mask, pretending everything is okay on the outside. But on the inside, you feel like, you're just going through the motions of life, and you find yourself saying there must be a better way. And there's a sense that something, is missing, something doesn't, feels disconnected maybe, or can't quite put a finger on it. And so this was me, and so, one day when I was working as a nurse, I started having chest pain and heart palpitations, and I struggled to breathe. And I was wheeled off to emergency in front of all my coworkers at work. And leading up to this event, I knew that I was like experiencing high anxiety, and I was not doing well. Like, I understood that I was feeling all this pain in my body. And although intellectually I knew I should take time off and prioritize myself, I could not get myself to just let go and stand in my self-leadership. And so how many of you can relate where there's times that you know what you should do or need to do, right? And however, giving yourself that permission to do it actually is a whole nother story. And oftentimes if we're doing this in one area of our life, it often generalizes to other areas of our life. And so some people might ask, like, why Tammy, did you work until breakdown instead of prioritizing what I knew already, right? And so you see, when I was young, my mom abandoned me when I was 20 days old to emotionally and physically abusive father. I was bullied a lot, at high school. And honestly, I didn't really feel like I was like worth anything. And I held all this pain inside, and I didn't know how to navigate my emotions, right? And from working with clients, I found that it does not need to be this big traumatic event, whether big T or small T. It could be like, your parent adjusting your hair on your face like consistently over time, or telling you things that you didn't like it, right? Or when you're growing up and you always had to be that caretaker over all the siblings in the family and take care of everyone's needs before your own. And over the years, I did well for myself. I had, I created money, house, car, investments, and a loving husband, right? And that white picket fence. And I got really good at achieving these external accomplishments and living up to the expectations of others, making people around me happy. And I got really good at numbing my own needs. I was. Now, it's really difficult to be authentic leader when we're not, sometimes people wake up in the middle of their life, and they're like, who am I? What am I doing? Is what I'm doing making a difference, right? And so this is the piece where we forget, because we've been doing it for so long, we get used to it, And so this is why, right, even though I intellectually knew I needed to take time off when I was burning out, subconsciously I couldn't prioritize my own needs, because if I let go of that people pleasing, achieving all these results and looking competent and in control, right, who would I be? And honestly, it wasn't until my daughter turned 6 months old and she's lying there on one of those baby Einstein mats, and for the first time, she intentionally hit one of those toys, right? Those hanging toys. And if it wasn't for this community nurse that was sitting next to me in my living room, I wouldn't have even noticed how disconnected I was to my own baby. I saw what she was doing with, my husband, letting my husband even care for me. And so as a result of my commitment to just change all of this, no longer set my life the way it is, I invested, all this, money in, obviously therapy, personal development trainings and such. And I really began to master the mind, right? Taking all these different courses, becoming this neurolinguistic programmer, and really like running masterminds and really becoming that, I became a millionaire, and I still realized I didn't become happy. I wasn't happy on the inside. And so I continued on my journey, and I went to, taking more courses and mastering energy, doing like Reiki, bio energy, healing, shamanism, and all these things, right? And I was actually exchanging healings 2 to 3 times a week. And I realized that when I stopped doing it, all the symptoms of anxiety and depression, all of this was coming back. And so we often hear of the body, mind, heart, soul connection. And so what happened was that I stepped into, 4 years of this emotional and spiritual healing, and really stepped into psychosomatic therapy and becoming a master's in that. I saw how my body and my face brought it all together for me. And my body was speaking to me and told my story of like the shape of my chest told me how I was pushing love away. At the same time, I was yearning for it. And my feet showed me I wasn't in alignment with my purpose. And my stomach told me I was like looking for protection. And so our physical body is this personal blueprint, right? That speaks to us through our physical appearance, the shape of our face, the lines, how we hold our shoulders and all of that, and how we even walk. And until I was actually able to connect and understand this about my body, I wasn't really stepping into that self-leadership within myself to really embody the truth, of who I was. And so through addressing myself in the wholeness of all these different parts of me and energy alignment, everything all together, I drastically improved my mental well-being, overcoming generalized anxiety, depression without medications. I removed myself from the chronic patterns of just burning out and getting exhausted. And I was awarded with this emotional freedom, peace of mind, and deeper connection with who I truly was, right? And with the same foundations, right? This supported me, obviously in the mental emotional realm, but I started creating 5 figures in my business with ease and flow, creating like a business that's aligned with actually my purpose, becoming international bestselling author and invited to speak, and really, most of all, owning, expressing my authentic gifts, because this place of fulfillment of stepping into my leadership of myself so I could help others. And now this is what I do to help people. And so really stepping into the 5 key foundations that I walk a lot of my clients through, and I want to share this all with you today. This is what supported me in healing with my health and wellness, but also the quality of my connections with others, and how much, abundance I can invite in, the difference I made in my clients. And so we'll go through this one by one. And so the key number 1 foundation is always, it's the birthing point of any change or transformation. It's our depth of our awareness. And it's so important because if we're not using our mental focus to become conscious and self-aware, we are actually actively recreating the past emotions, past energy, past results, past experiences by default. It's very much like, a sailboat where you're letting the currents and the winds guide you versus actively directing the sails on where you want to go. And this starts with that depth of self-awareness. And so often if we're taken over by the hustle culture in our daily lives, we're not really able to tap into this level of self-awareness, right? And so the only way to create change is to slow down and really develop the skill of deeper presence within ourselves. In fact, the biggest mistake I witness in my clients is they don't look deep enough. Very much like my story, they got used to wearing that mask, whatever that mask, like whether that's high achieving, being really rational, or, people pleasing, being in control, that becomes a lot of people's identity, and they really don't know who's what and what voice is them and all these kind of things, right? And so one of the ways I help my clients to support them in removing this mask they wear is to do this through face analysis. And so I wanted to share this picture of me before and after my burnout. The picture in the middle is the original photo, and a picture on the left is our inner world, 2 left sides put together. And the picture on the right is 2 right sides, which is the public face we show people. And so if you put your hand on your left side of your face, that's your private. And if you put your hand on the right side of your face, that is what we show the world, the public face, so to speak. And so we could see that, before my burnout, like the size of my forehead has completely opened up from the top photo to the bottom photo, because I was really restricted in how I saw things. And doing this work within myself helped me see things differently, to see the bigger picture of life. And that is definitely a shift that happened here. You could also see that the shape of my face has changed, increased my capacity in the length of my face, and also my expression of my leadership and capacity. And my eyes opened up, and the eyes are our seat to our soul. It's our heart, so to speak, right? And my expression in my lips, the size of my lips have, increased in color and things like this. And so stepping into my self-leadership really helped me change my entire face and body and the leader I was choosing to be in my own life. And Nikki had, someone that had a session with me, and she didn't know really what to expect, right? And so she signed up for this face analysis. And just from seeing the shape of her face and her facial features, I was able to quickly uncover things about herself that were buried deep in her soul that she didn't want to admit to herself was true. And so she was absolutely amazed at this, and she could see how the power of this can really help people get where they wanted to get the results faster and such. And really look at what is holding them back, right? And so once Nikki was face to face with herself, she was able to create this clear path where she could feel more productive energy and aligned with her life, because she wasn't spending all this energy holding things down. And she wasn't aware of this, right? But she was just amazed how much more energy she had. And also, it's just whatever was there, it becomes almost like this kink, right? Where it's like a hose where there's a kink and the pressure builds up. And so what you want to make a note of is that we cannot step into our self-leadership from a place that we're disconnected from, right? Does that make sense? And so Mihai was another someone I worked with. And I'm just gonna, okay, yeah. And I worked with, and he was already in the middle of this transformation, and he found in this reading process to be deep and impactful, because it allowed him to see how he saw himself and actually how he actually wanted others to see him. And so often at a deeper level, we all want to be seen and validated, right? A lot of times that's what we're doing out there, where we're wanting to earn the significance or recognition or whatever, as we will. And when we're able to hold on to more love and compassion for ourselves, to see ourselves from this expanded light, it allows you to really change your relationship within yourself, right? And develop this authentic confidence and connection, with the students he was working with at that time. He was really able to show himself in a different way. And so when you cover what your own face says and deepen your own self-awareness, this is where, you open up more love and compassion, for yourself, acceptance of your face and body. You expand that self-recognition I was talking about, that you build that internal relationship with yourself, and you efficiently and quickly identify what's in the way of that's stepping in the way of your authentic self-leadership. And so now moving on to foundation 2, right? It's being connected to your vision, values, and your purpose. Knowing what's important to you, right? The level of connection to your purpose is so important, because when we anchor into it, our purpose, our values, and we navigate life this way, we create that clarity of vision, but conviction, that the confidence to stay true to ourselves, even when the waters of life get tough. And so staying connected to our purpose and values is very much like having this internal lighthouse, illuminating our path, and guides you on your daily decision. And that's creates a lot of the flow that people get stuck in, because we don't know which decision we should make and such. And so some of you may have heard of Ikigai, which is from the Japanese, originates from Japan. And it stands for this reason for being, our purpose in life. And this is something that's gained attention worldwide for its association with longevity, happiness, and just our overall well-being. And so studies have shown that, individuals who have that strong sense of ikigai tend to experience a greater satisfaction, happiness, the well-being, lower levels of stress, depression, anxiety, and a clear sense of purpose really links to that improved physical health outcomes, lower rates of chronic disease, and mortality. And so what I see in a lot of high achievers I work with is that they often they think they want what they want is not actually what they want at a deeper level. I've seen this time and time again because what it is that we're guided by what, was expected of us from our families, our parents, in comparison to what we see other people are doing. And so we feel like we should follow that. Or even like they do things that a coach has, they hired that, told them to do that, right? And there's really is a difference between what we mentally want in our mind versus what really matters to us at a heart level. And so this is the case for Alice, right? And she was someone who really lived in the headspace, and she really struggled with that within herself, and she really wasn't connecting. And what she realized is that, she was not really letting in positive feelings and pushing away compliments, and kept her from feeling good about herself. And she was even pushing away other people and things like that. And with me supporting her and connecting with her intuitive wisdom, she was able to really connect and stand and be affirmed in her own purpose. And she, because of that, and she felt more aligned with her decisions, she just naturally created more time in the day. Whereas when she first came to me, she felt like she had no time in her day. And so it comes back to this place that when we are pushing away these things in our life, we may not actually be, connected to the inner connection with ourselves, which, makes sense, right? And of course, it starts with self-awareness connected to our purpose. And it's one thing I do want to step into to speak about is that how it was also showing up in her body was her feet were out of alignment. And so what many of us don't know is that the way our feet are pointed shows us if we're on direction with our purpose and if we're even on purpose. And so this is something else that we corrected within her. And so this naturally just opened up all these different realms within her to really live that self-leadership for herself, because she was retired and she was still not happy with all the achievements she was making. And so the opportunity here is that when we learn to stay connected, with our purpose and values and stand in our own power and our leadership, we not only create this inner fulfillment from leading with integrity on purpose with ourselves and creating that meaningful impact, but we embrace our uniqueness to live from our own authenticity, where we feel really real in what we're doing every day, allowing ourselves to be different for who we are and versus conforming to rigid, outdated systems, and allowing for really that creativity and that innovation to really express our uniqueness once again, and to actually bring that out to the community that we work in. And so just moving along to foundation 3. And the only way to be emotionally intelligent leader is not to study it, but it's living it, by learning with your own emotional dynamics. And so this third foundation of emotional fluency and empowerment is very key. And one of the main reasons, right, it's why, overwhelm and a lot of challenges actually happening is because we're actually turning away from our emotions. And so it's really about turning towards our emotions and to see what we actually need, because what we need at a mental level is very different what we need at an emotional level, and all these layers of us. And when we don't honor our needs, this is one of the ways that it blocks our energy flow. In fact, literally, this is exactly how I healed generalized anxiety, is that I learned how to really turn towards my emotions and really learn to hold space and honor my own needs. And being an authentic leader is really learning to authentically be real and to feel emotionally and to learn to hold the space for ourselves and truly learn how to lead our emotions. One of the mistakes I see in a lot of my clients is that, we're all told to think positively. And I see that a lot of people are focused on being positive, developing that, positive mindset to feel good about things, which is not a bad thing. However, oftentimes it starts to cover up and it causes us to ignore the emotional upset underneath. And so Tracy was someone who was very focused on staying positive. She was a self-proclaimed personal development junkie. And when she first came to me, she really struggled to give herself this space because she was really, focused on doing things for other people, staying positive, right? And so when she was able to tap, into the uncomfortable emotional spaces together with me, she was able to experience love and abundance for the first time. And so the first time in 37 years of her life, she actually felt what love felt like and what abundance could feel like. And from doing this, right, and she realized she couldn't create it in her life when she didn't have a sense of what it even meant within herself, because she really wanted to step up to the next level of her leadership. And this was what was stopping it, And so she was able to, move from having no room to do her work to having a new home with two rooms, one for her cardio lessons and then one for her office, right? And she learned to set boundaries with her parents who were really actually overstepping in her life. And she had an influx of 10 memberships into her community. And so what I want you to take a note off here, right, is like, and often what people don't know is that when you limit the amount of negative feelings we feel, we also limit the amount of joy, love, and abundance. We can't just like not feel a part and feel and open up to feeling more joy. We actually need to expand these two parts of the arrow together. And so Paige is someone that worked with me and before working with me, she's like, I have all this going on and I have like 3 major transitions happening in her life. And all these triggers were coming up in her, right? And so for Paige, it's like when I was able to show her how to really navigate her emotions to see like what these triggers are actually telling her. They were very important lessons. And when we got to the core level and she was able to let this go, like all these 3 major events, among all this happening, she was able to move into this and stay in this whole new level of joy for herself because she was able to deal with what was blocking her energy and she expanded both ways. Excuse me. And so the opportunity is here for all of us is that when we learn how to become that leader of our emotions, right, and their triggers, our emotional upsets, right, we begin to leverage our emotions into like openings and opportunities instead of having it sort of take us down for a while and create that emotional ease and flow to really open to receive more, happiness, joy, abundance, like whatever it is that your heart is wanting will naturally flow in. And so moving along here is the foundation number 4. It's this collaboration with our subconscious and the sage. And so what does that mean, right? And so our body's subconscious functions in our body, like regulating our breathing, the neural chemical, hormonal interactions in our body, our digestion, when our heart beats, like our body's ability to regulate our temperature, like all these processes are governed by the subconscious. And without our conscious deciding in every moment, it's just happening. Very much like this same energy and force that, causes flowers to naturally bloom or the planets to rotate exactly perfectly. The same thing is happening in our body. And so I feel like it's really important to tap into this force within ourselves because 95% of our thoughts are run by the subconscious. And so we might as well get to know it, especially if we're wanting to step into this deeper self-leadership in ourselves. And what I believe when we partner with this subconscious place within ourselves, it really holds this key foundational piece of not repeating the past things. Because again, we're recreating the past if we're not stepping into our authentic self-leadership. In fact, our body represents our subconscious. Like all the information is held here and your body doesn't lie. Your physical body is like this personal blueprint that speaks to us through our physical appearance, how we walk, how we breathe, how we hold our body, not only in the place of reading, but also how we move our body and how we do repetitive things, touching certain parts of our body a certain way. Like all these speak to what's actually happening underneath. And their energy body is actually the extension all around us, right? And this is that deeper connection with this, higher power that even though we can't see it, it's present, it's there, it's been measured. And so when I work with my clients, I walk them through this process to actually visually see, how this energy field is reacting to their own thoughts and their current belief systems. And so just the example is that Adrian, right, someone I was working with, and he wanted to learn more about his body. And he felt that, everything's going good with my life. I'm in a good place, right? And so when I really allowed him to step into really get him to step into that affirmation, I really believe in myself. I deserve the money I'm going to make, and really step into that, saying that to himself in a very strong way. And I tested his, energy field, and it decreased significantly. It shrunk his energy field significantly. And so this really awoke in him, right, to what was, happening, because he was striving and investing money to doing all these things. But at a deeper level, he was actually pushing it away subconsciously, which reinforces the self-sabotage patterns. And that's really important because, a lot of times we're putting so much time, money, and resources in things that we're actually not going to receive at the end of the day, or it's at the same sort of, energetic level, so to speak. And oftentimes, right, it often goes like this, where we don't know what we don't know. And I believe that standing into self-leadership within ourselves has a lot to do with really getting to know ourselves deeply, because that connection breeds the authenticity. It breeds that ability for us to reach the people and share the information and education we want to share. And it's very much like, imagine you're in the middle of the ocean and there's a shark coming. And there's a person on the beach, right, with binoculars, and they can see that the shark is coming. And, that person wants to warn the person. But the person in the water, if you're in the water and the shark's coming, you probably won't see the shark until it's too late. And so the person on the beach is equivalent of, having that knowledge of what your body and your energy alignment is, right? And you're in the water, you can't see it, but it doesn't, mean that you don't have the, swimming ability. It's not anything about performance that you can't do this, right? But it's until you're able to see what is from another lens outside of you, right? It's you're subconsciously pushing things away. And so I had the privilege of bumping into Adrian 2 years later, and he was sharing with me that he was able to really uncover and ignite this energetic shift that really opened him up. And it's become a strong foundation of what he's working in his life with. And he became the top 5% podcast host and a narrator and speaker, really stepping into his creative gifts. And so what, Carl Jung said is, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And so let's just take a breath with that, right? And just realize how, pronounced this can actually be. And when you begin to learn to tap into this subconscious communication with your body, is that you begin to develop the deeper connection, authenticity with yourself, but it really strengthens your self-leadership and take action according to your vision and purpose, without that self-doubt and questioning and the mental chatter, right? You feel this alignment within yourself to move forward. And so stepping into the final foundation here, right? It's the last step is very crucial in stepping into your self-leadership, because if we do all the other pieces, right, we deepen our awareness, we connect to our purpose, we tap into the subconscious, right, and our emotional empowerment, but we're not stepping into a new identity, we begin again to default to the old self. And so once again, this common mistake I see is that people address the body, mind, heart, soul separately. They may work on mindset, but they're not working on the emotions, or they'll work on the emotions, but not what's happening with their body, or they'll do energy healing, but they're not bringing the mindset piece in. And so what happens is this pattern may be addressed in one situation, but it'll just, it feels solved in that situation, but it actually will generalize to another area of our life and play out again. And so in order to fully lead ourselves into our new identity, it requires not ignoring all these different aspects of ourselves, but bringing them into alignment, right? Because we could achieve these milestones and hit all these goals, like very much like Alice when she retired, right? She still felt something was incomplete or missing within her. And this is a chart I just want to highlight is that, our energy connection, alignment, so to speak, as it is shown through our own body, is that we can see that, at a lower level, our body, the signs and symptoms come on. And then we have acute or chronic challenges and eventually can manifest into a disease that affects our daily life, right? But what many people don't know is that, when we have that signs and symptoms at a mind level, it's the negative thinking. At a heart level, it's the unfulfilled emotional needs. At a soul level, it's ignoring our intuition. And, as it moves on, right? It depends, like it's all correlated. Like what shows up in our body is exactly what is, held in our body at an emotional level that blocks our connection to our soul. And many people are focused on that, the mind column, where it's the negative thinking, unresourceful beliefs, acceptance of that, and then developing that identity. And so this is why it's important to address all these different layers together, bring alignment within ourselves, because depending where we are on the spectrum, it determines your, energy alignment and that amount of energy you have to move forward with your leadership. And so Stephanie was a clear example of this. She was holding all this resentment towards her loved ones, and she was feeling stuck, right? And making decisions and taking action in her leadership role. And, she worked in leadership and she took pride in being that problem solver, but she didn't realize that how much she was avoiding. And she really felt powerless, to create that change. And she was constantly, taking forever to follow through on her decisions. And it manifested into how it was showing up with her loved ones. And what she realized is that she actually was blaming external factors for neglecting how important spirituality was to her. And so she discovered, her personal strength to end the procrastination, and what took her, weeks and months to accomplish, she was able to do with ease now. And for the first time, she started prioritizing herself and what she wanted, creating time with her friends, and created extra whole day off for herself to really serve herself and to step into leadership with her life. And that really helped her in becoming that better mom, right? To support her son with anxiety that he was going through. And so this is exactly it. It's that when we ignore, in Stephanie's case, our soul and what that actually means to us, it also creates energy kinks in other areas of our life. So in order to step into this identity, it has a lot to do with bringing all of ourselves to the table. And so when you begin to embody this new identity alignment, where you're learning all these aspects, how to lead all these aspects of yourself, you really support yourself to really create, hold, and maintain your self-leadership, and to create a new quality of happiness, health, abundance, and all these areas at the same time. So really the path to happiness has a lot about being connected in ourselves, staying aligned to really address all these parts of us. And it may sound like a lot of work, but as you bring alignment to yourself, more and more, life gets more easier. You'd be really surprised. And so I really encourage you to really step into these different aspects of self, of this authentic self-leadership formula, where I use this to support my clients, and I encourage you really start developing that deeper, self-awareness, that presence with yourself, and really like being really honest, coming face to face with yourself. And because, when we do this, we can lead a life that addresses your wellness, your amount of energy you have, your performance, and that creating positive relationships and abundance in your life, and the meaningful impact, in our community that we work with. And so I'm just gonna land us all here is that, let me ask you, are you on a path of making a difference at the expense of your own authentic happiness, health, and fulfillment? Or do you choose that path of authentic self-leadership where you create that meaningful impact with more ease and flow without sacrificing your own happiness, your deeper needs, and your authentic being? And I believe the rising of more authentic leaders will give rise to a world where empathy triumphs over ego, diversity rises over conformity, and collaboration thrives over competition, and humanity prevails over disconnection. And I want to thank you all for, listening to me. I hope that this has inspired and moved different parts of you that maybe you didn't connect with before. And on the left side, if you want to just stay connected with my work, I invite you, you can scan that and it'll link to my website. And for the free Discover What Your Face Shape Says About You, if you want to start that journey. And the one on the right, if you have like questions for me, or you're curious about, taking the next step with what that looks like for you, I am offering a conference only special offer out there. And so we can have a conversation. So feel free to scan. That's access to my WhatsApp. And thank you. Thank you for being here and listening. And I really hope this inspired you to step into your authentic self-leadership. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna stop my share. And if anyone has any questions right now, I'm open to that as well. But Dr. Badkar, just let me know the timing of things for you. I can hear you, yes. Hi, Sanjay. I saw you. Oh, sorry, I saw someone unmuted, but okay.
Hello, good evening, Dr. Bedkar, sir, principal, sir, and the organizing team. And very, very good morning, I should say, over there at Canada, I think.
Yes.
Tammy, ma'am. Yeah, good morning to you. And a really very wonderful presentation you have made. Nowadays, I'm belongs to medical field, and I can see, I can observe many people, with a different mindset of coming to us, and many of them are nowadays they are more pessimistic. They may be very good with the wealth, but mind you, their mental wealth is not so great over there. And I think this is a really, helpful for them, and this will act as a remedy for them. So thank you very much. Your formula, what you have made, is one of the wonderful formula, what I can say, and it is very analogous to the psychological principles. So it is more scientific also. So self-actualization and self-realization and all these phenomena what we discuss in psychology, I think it is it is reflected in your formula. Many of the people, they don't know what kind of capacity they are having, capability they are having, and they are just running behind something, and they are not exploring themselves in a true sense. So I think there should be some time, we should take we should take out, and we should go with this kind of formulas. And the person like you, with the full of energy, I think that energy get transformed from your heart to their heart, and that will really, enlighten them, and the pessimistic attitude will get reduced to optimistic attitude. So with this, I really thanks for such a wonderful presentation. And you have given your case studies also, and you have given some illustrations, because giving, some words has no many, unless and until you are not implementing it. And you have implemented very well, and you have presented it very well. So thank you very much. Ma'am, my one question is, some people are obstinate. They are not living their what we can say consciousness, and forget about the that subconscious nature of him. but people are obstinate. They are not listening. So in such instance, like a youth, we are talking about, we are telling them not to do something and we are telling them to do something positively. But the obstinacy, especially the young people coming to my consulting, yeah, definitely, it becomes so difficult. We are promoting yoga and Surya Namaskara and other things, but, they are not adopting it, easily. We have to tell them now and then, and still, they goes with themselves. So how to remove this obstinacy? It may be in any regard. So how to remove this obstinacy? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for offering your words of kindness. And I hear what you're saying. What I didn't speak about in this presentation that I want to speak of because of what you said is that when we come into this alignment within ourselves, our energy will naturally influence the people around us. And so with your students, I'm sorry, I'm going to just take a drink of water. And so with your students, it truly starts with our self-leadership. Like we can get inspired. Unfortunately, it's often not like a straightforward answer here because it's really important to stay focused and align what you're connected to within yourself, and then stepping into your inspirational energy. Often that has to do with, turning towards your emotions, like I was speaking about, and sharing your passion again and again. And in that practice of doing that and showing up for yourself in that leadership, not from a mental place of this is why you need to do this, but again, it's like, I really care about this. Like I care about you. Like what's going on? Like actually maybe even having like a circle with, and like, this is what I learned. And, I really want to bring this here because, I matter, you matter. Like, what is it that you need? And starting and listening and starting from where they actually need or want the help is crucial. And sometimes that doesn't look like exactly what you want them to do, but you're developing that human connection. And it's through human connection and relationship where we shift and change people, not from a mental place, but from a place of like, I care. And this is why, how it looks like, and doing that. And the more you build that connection, the more they really cares. It's like, yeah, I think I'm going to just do that and try that out. Like they're inspired by your energy. And so it always starts with our self-leadership, standing into our authenticity within ourselves. So I hope that answers your question.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you very much, ma'am. Yeah, definitely. We will try to implement all those objects. I'm a doctor, also physician, and as well as I'm a professor in medical college. We have to use this kind of techniques because it is not just, we have to teach them the text. But I think this kind of knowledge, what you have today, presented, is really very much helpful for the students. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Bedkar, sir, principal, sir, for giving such a great opportunity and such a wonderful resource persons we are meeting with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I want to add one thing, for such a resource person, that divinity is also required. Divinity. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity and thank you for having your mind and your heart open to receive what I'm sharing with you today. I'm also going to just quickly put, my LinkedIn in the chat here for everyone if you want to stay connected. And if you have any questions that happen afterwards, or maybe something that's coming up in your body that's been really repetitive and you want to know, I could point you in the direction of what that is speaking to subconsciously. And thank you so much once again, Dr. Bedkar. Thank you. Thank you.
थैंक यू मैम।
सर यूट्यूब वाला लिंक शेयर हो गया है।
Hello, ma'am. Thank you so
बहुत अच्छी
much.
जानकारी मिली है सर।
I'm a student of management. I listened so many things about the authentic leadership. Initially, we have learned about the supportive leadership, collegial leadership, democratic leadership, autocratic leadership, but it was very different. In it, I have learned about the authentic leadership. So sometimes I become confused when I talk about the authentic leadership and collegial leadership. It is somehow related. So can you please differentiate that how collegial leadership is different from the authentic leadership, because this term is new, recently added, and initially in my MBA classes I think very few of the session has been taken on it, and this was very new for me, and I have learned so many things on it. And I am a PhD student. I have recently completed my course of work, and I want to go for the research area, so it may maybe a new topic for me to research. So can you please describe anything about it? It will be very beneficial for me.
Yeah, thank you for asking. And not knowing the background of, I think he's called it collegiate leadership. I'm not really sure, and I don't want to compare without knowing the difference. But yeah, this is actually a leadership style that I've created on my journey, where I felt it was missing. All these pieces were missing. People were addressing it more from an intellectual level, versus realizing that all the parts of ourselves are aligned. Face and body reading. I think my experience has brought me on this journey to see the connection that many people are not connecting. And so you could definitely do some research on it, but I created this based on how I healed and how it's transformed my life. You could definitely Google authentic leadership. I call it self-leadership. And people will have their different perspectives, but the body and analysis piece is definitely different, because it's I meet a lot of people and they never heard about that. So that's a piece that makes me different in the sense of how I'm highlighting it here.
What are the variables in it could be to check the authentic leadership when I go for in the research in this area? Like the democratic leadership, altogether different thing, autocratic style, supportive style, collegial style. There are so many research has been done on that. When I come to this authentic leadership, now there's very few research in this area has been done. So what are the variables I can find when I go to the any managerial position, any key areas any CEOs, what are the variables should I find to check out this authentic leadership style?
Yeah, well, why don't you connect with me? Because like I said, I created this myself. So I actually didn't search online to find this information. It's just, I created it within myself. So so notice within yourself, right? You're really wanting to understand, which is really beautiful. And the best research you could do is to learn to live it for yourself.
Yes.
Because you can see all these pieces. It's really about coming back to self. And a lot of times where we automatically go to the mind and try to figure things out. And so just notice that. But yeah, if you definitely connect on LinkedIn, if you have some more questions that will linger, and I could answer that accordingly. Is that helpful, Mohammed?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so thankful to you for addressing my questions. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm sorry, say that one more time. So you want me to share certain slides with you with the overview? Oh, the body, mind, heart, soul one? Oh, oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Can you see that? Yeah, and as I also pinned my LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn, to connect with me in that way as well. Yes, I will. Thank you so much.